economic growth of Telangana. Thank you.
Can I request the Honorable Minister, Mr. KT Ramarao Garu, to felicitate the chief guest on this occasion? Consultants, CBRE, JLL, Cushman, Colliers, Knight Frank. I see some of them here. And also the real estate developers. They have done their role. They have built fantastic grade A spaces. A lot of them are here as well. We thank all of you for being a part of the growth story. Now, we move on to the next item. And we would like to recognize the Advisory Council for ICT Policy and Investments in Telangana. A lot of them are globally, or most of them or all of them are globally reputed leaders in their own fields. Some of them are here in Hyderabad and some of them are globally present. So we would like to invite all of those who are present here. Mr. Arijit Sarkar, Vice President of Google. Mr. Arijit Sarkar, Vice President of Google. Mr. Rajiv Chilaka, Founder of Green Gold Animation. Mr. Shashi Reddy, Vice President of Engineering for Qualcomm. Mr. Narasimha Rao, Executive Vice President for Infosys. And Mr. Ramesh Kaja, Senior Vice President for State Street, onto the stage. Now, we would like to hear from the man who leads from the front. Our Minister for IT and Industries, Mr. KT Ramarao.
Thanks. Thank you, Amar. I know we are running late, so I thought we'll save you all from the introduction, and I knew that Amar was actually going to go for a long-winded introduction, so thank you. Firstly, I'd like to thank all of you for taking some time out of your busy days, busy schedules, and coming and joining us for this program, the launch of the second ICT policy ever since the formation of Telangana as a state. As you're all aware, Telangana is one of the youngest, in fact, the youngest state and one of the fastest growing states in the country. I'd like to particularly extend special thanks and gratitude to Srimati Rekha Menon for joining us, for taking the time out, Rekha. Really appreciate your time and your efforts in joining us today. I know this is your first time out after 18 months, so thank you. Thank you for coming to Hyderabad and joining us. Just to put things in perspective, before I talk about the policy or the highlights or the sector or the industry and the technologies, I think I'd like to spend a couple of minutes on how well Telangana has done in the last 7 years. If you just look at the gross state domestic product, GSDP as we call it, in 2021 it was 9.78 lakh crores. And compare this to 2013 and 14, it was around 5 lakh crores. So literally the GSDP of the state has nearly doubled, and in fact it is much, much higher than the national average growth rate. The share of Telangana's economy in national GDP, I keep saying, we punch above our weight. If you look at Telangana as a state, we are 11th largest in terms of population. We are 12th largest in terms of geographical size. But in terms of our contribution to the GDP, Telangana today is the 4th largest contributor to the national economy. And this is not me saying it. This is a report released by the Reserve Bank of India yesterday that has reinforced our belief and our point. More importantly, let me also point out that in terms of population and the overall country, we are about 2.5% if you look at the country as a whole. Our Telangana's population is about 4 crores. India's population is nearly 135 crores. But if you look at the GDP contribution, a 2.5% population is contributing to 5%, which is literally double of what our size is. More importantly, I think another very telling statistic, which kind of tells you the growth story of Telangana. When we started our journey in 2013 and 14 as a state, the per capita income of a citizen in Telangana was 94,000, I think it was, subject to correction. But now the state's per capita income of citizen is 2,27,145, which is significantly higher compared to the national average. The national average is about 1,27,768. So we are nearly 100,000 rupees above the national average. Over the last 1 year, Telangana once again has boasted of a phenomenal growth in the IT and IT-enabled services sector, thanks largely to the group gathered here in the room, with an increase of 12.98% in exports over the previous year, in spite of the pandemic, in spite of all the problems that we had to go through. Just to put things in perspective in terms of export numbers, when we started our journey in 2013-14, the IT export numbers were at about 57,000 crores of rupees. But now, as of last year, they're about 1,45,000 crores of rupees. We have seen more than double, and we have of course been much growing at a much faster rate than the national average. Back in 2016, as was pointed out by Jayesh Ranjan, my principal secretary, we have decided to announce a very progressive, forward-looking, forward-thinking ICT policy in the overall, with the overall guidance by our Honorable Chief Minister, Shri KTR Garu. In the last 5 years, between 2016 and 2021, I'm glad to say that the IT E&C department has been successful at meeting the goals that we have set for ourselves in policy 2016. But as you all know, every government is elected for 5 years, and so are the policies. We typically have a 5-year policy. So we had to come out with some revisions, with some newer ideas with this new policy that we have launched today. We have not only been able to achieve the goals that we have set for ourselves, we've also had a strong positive impact on the policy making at national level, and thanks largely again to our investors, to the citizens, to the stakeholders who have been involved in this brilliant growth story. Over the last 5 years, as I pointed out, the state has passed several milestones in the IT and electronic sectors, not only in terms of the growth, but also in adaptation to the public, to the citizens. Telangana has seen the highest annual growth rate in IT sector in the country in terms of export numbers in the last 5 years, and has created more than 2.5 lakh jobs in this sector, and in spite of the pandemic again. As Amar pointed out, in the last 5 to 6 years, we've had several marquee investors. We hear these, I keep saying this to a lot of potential investors when I meet them. If you look at the top 5 most valued technology companies in the world, all 5 of them without an exception have their second largest base outside of their headquarters in our own city of Hyderabad today. And this marquee list includes Apple, Facebook, Microsoft, Amazon, and Google. Now, yes, of course, and we have all of these brands right up there. Let me also quickly point out, excepting Microsoft, which has set its office here in Hyderabad, which has set up its office in Hyderabad and back in 2001-2, all other 4 have come to Telangana in the last 5 to 6 years. Not only these top 5 most valued tech companies, we also have a marquee list of names, Micron, Uber, and we have very interesting companies in BFSI. Just as of a couple of days back, even JP Morgan Chase has set up its largest APAC office in Hyderabad. Goldman Sachs has opened a very large facility in Hyderabad, and that list goes on. In fact, Mass Mutual, State Street, PepsiCo, Intel, the list goes on. More importantly, what I'm very upbeat about is also the electronic sector, manufacturing. Honorable Prime Minister talks about making in India. Honorable Chief Minister of Telangana is very keen to get that manufacturing piece to our state. Electronic sector in Telangana saw more than 1.5 lakh jobs being created, and now we are responsible for production of nearly 7% of electronics output in the country, and that is constantly growing. We've also recently announced the electric vehicle policy, and we've been seeing significant traction even in this space. We have developed a robust innovation ecosystem consisting of T-Hub, the Telangana State Innovation Cell, the Women Entrepreneurs Hub called as V-Hub, and one important thing that BVR Mohan Reddy Garu spoke about, the strong collaboration that is required between industry and academia. We have made a sincere effort in the form of RICH, the Research and Innovation Circle of Hyderabad. But I take your point, sir. I think a lot more needs to be done. I certainly agree with you there. And of course, the Telangana Academy for Skill and Knowledge, TASK, and the largest prototyping facility in the country, soon to be unveiled, called as the T-Works. The Emerging Technologies Wing, headed by Ramadevi Garu, and Image Center of Excellence, which stands for Innovation in Animation, Gaming, Multimedia, and Entertainment. All of these together, in fact, more than 1,500 startups have received support in the form of mentorship, incubations, and industry connects, and have raised more than 1,800 crores of rupees in funding over the last 5 years. I know this number looks small, but I think this is just the beginning. From where we have started to where we have reached, I think it's a significant journey. More than 3 lakh skilled professionals have been created through programs from TASK that have been designed in partnership with the industry. And I take the point made by Shri BVR Mohan Reddy Garu, and of course strongly reinforced and endorsed by Rekha Menon about the need to focus on education and, more importantly, skilling. We have taken note of that, madam, myself and Jayesh Ranjan, and we will work with both NASSCOM and also our local industry partners here to ensure that we create a furthermore, even more robust skilling program. TASK, in fact, also has one of the highest placement rates in the country for a government-backed skilled program. More than 500 government services are available electronically over Me Seva, and over 250 are available over phones through the T-App Folio. Me Seva has been exemplary in bringing the government closer and more accessible for the citizens, and has inspired other cities and also other countries, in fact. Telangana has made rapid strides in the e-governance space. In fact, we've also won several awards for our smart government initiatives like RTDAI and the digital verification of beneficiaries which have been launched. Just to give you a sense of what e-governance can do for a citizen in Telangana, on a Sunday in Telangana today, you can get your driver's license renewed sitting in the comforts of your home using a smartphone. That's how, adaptive we've been with respect to our e-governance initiatives. Several new and growing technologies have been taken up by the Emerging Technologies Wing in the state of Telangana. Over the last 5 years, sectoral policies have been developed and launched for open data, blockchain, data analytics, artificial intelligence, cyber security, cloud adoption, and e-waste management. All of these have been taken up. In fact, in partnership with leading global organizations,